Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to have my good friend Kyle Collier, who is the producer of the program at Sports Radio 810 WHB. And today we're going to talk a little Chiefs offensive line and specifically the battle that is going on at left guard. But Kyle, my first question for you is, how are you doing on this beautiful evening?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. We got Royals baseball, 2 games today. Couldn't be happier.
2 games of Jack Caglione. There's
That's right.
literally nothing better. And he got his
Oh
first
yeah,
big league hit, too. Double
yeah.
down the line.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course, it was an extra base hit. So,
And of course, it was an RBI, which I think is a 14th of what Michael Massey has already. So, yeah, it should be really fun to watch him, progress through his big league career. And I think, we could have a absolute superstar tandem in Kansas City on the baseball side of things, which is just, great for Royals fans. But I do want to ask you, so the offensive line has been one of the biggest issues plaguing this Chiefs team. And last year they spent a pretty high draft pick on presumably the left tackle of the future in Kingsley Sumataya. That didn't work out. And one of the biggest conversations this offseason is, can he make that transition to left guard? And I think right now he's probably the favorite to be the starter. You've also got Mike Caliendo. But if I was to ask Kyle Collier to build his perfect offensive line for the Chiefs, what would you do?
Man, that's tough. In a perfect world, and as we both know, that there is no such thing, but in a perfect world, I think Brett Veach, he takes a swing at somebody like Laramie Tunsil, swinging serious draft capital for a legitimate left tackle. Now we'll see. Kingsley has not won anything yet, and like you said, it is a battle. And Mike Caliendo, he was good in the role that he was in, but as soon as you ask him to be that full-time guy, then you're risking him, overexposing him and his talent and what he can do for you. He's a solid depth player. And the Chiefs have had a lot of those guys over the years who, if you elevate them to starting status over the long haul, it's not the right thing to do. But yeah, Kingsley, you said it. They spend a high second round pick, or not a high second round pick, but a higher.
Pick, though.
Yeah, it's a second round pick. That's valuable draft capital. And it looks like it's not gonna work out long term. The Chiefs need him to work out on the line somewhere. If that's maybe next year, if Jawan Taylor goes, moving him over to the right side. But you asked me about this year. He has to win that job, no doubt about it. Because the offensive line is what, if the Chiefs weren't stopping themselves, if they weren't dealing with injuries, the offensive line is the obstacle that was in their path to securing a Super Bowl victory. That should be priority one for Brett Veach this offseason, and I think it was. The thing is, it's just there wasn't too many options available that weren't Laramie Tunsil-esque. Just the line between, just the extremes. You can either go hard for Laramie Tunsil or a guy like that, and then the guys that were left were just not serious answers. Donovan, the hell's his name?
I was going to say Donovan Jackson, but Donovan Smith,
that's who I'm thinking of. Those guys really just aren't long-term solutions. I mean, just think about it. Over the last 5-6 years, how many left tackles has Patrick Mahomes had?
I know that he's had a different left tackle in every single Super Bowl he's played in.
Exactly, right. And Brett Veach needs continuity. Now, Josh Simmons, I'm not sure if he's ready to go. I know he's participating in team activities now this week. He's doing a lot more than he did last week. We'll see if he wins that job, or if it's Jaylen Moore to start the season. But left guard, they traded Tooney, so they must feel good about either Caliendo or Kingsley taking over that spot.
Which I'll tell you what, I'm not trying to throw hate. I'm not trying to throw shade. If Mike Caliendo's the starter at left guard, you're in a world of hurt. And I think that, at least with Kingsley, he's got the athletic profile to be a solid left guard. And listen, there's no shame in being a washed up tackle and then moving inside and being a really good player. And one thing that I do want to show, this is actually a quote coming from Chiefs offensive line coach Andy Heck, who compared Kingsley Sumataya's development to former Chiefs guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. And if he ends up being LDT, the Chiefs just had a fantastic pick. I mean, it's kind of hard to say that, Kingsley's going to end up being that good, but I don't think anyone would complain if he turns out to be Nick Allegretti.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Allegretti, another guy who gave this offensive line solid snaps when they needed it. And LDT is a guy who was clearly a developmental project when he was drafted. And he worked his way to getting paid. I think he got like 3 years, tens of millions of dollars. That's a successful pick. If Kingsley can do that, then absolutely you're A1. Great pick by Brett Veach. But if he does not win that job, and like you said, if it is Caliendo, world of hurt is the right term to use, and it's a swing and a miss on a high draft pick.
When you make a good point that Kingsley Sumataya has not earned anything. In fact, I think, in terms of prospects and guys that you maybe brought in this offseason, if things shake out a certain way, then Kingsley could be the odd man out. I do want to talk about that more after this break. This video is sponsored by my friends over at DM Injury Law. Injured in an accident? You could be entitled to significant compensation, but time is critical. Rely on the experienced personal injury attorneys at DM Law, Kansas City and Missouri's top injury law firm. DM Law is a full-service personal injury practice supported by a team of investigators, case managers, medical records specialists, and more. They've recovered over $600 million for thousands of clients, and they're not afraid to take your case all the way to trial. Every right deserves a fight. And best of all, you don't pay unless they win. DM Law operates on a contingency fee basis, meaning that you do not pay a single dime unless they win your case. If you've been injured, don't wait. You can contact DM Law today for a free consultation and learn how they can help you pursue the compensation you deserve. Let them handle the fight while you focus on recovery. Hurt in a car wreck? Call Mike. Remember, Mike's got this. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Thank you to DM Injury Law for sponsoring this video. The Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway is the place to be. With over 1,500 slot machines, 35 table games, 4 restaurants, and a new ESPN Bet sportsbook, there are plenty of ways to find your fun. For more chances to win, follow them on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Special shout out to the sponsors that support this show all offseason long. But getting back to it, Kyle, I think, and this is a question that I actually just got asked, if Josh Simmons ends up working out at left tackle right away, let's say he's your starter, what do you do with Jaylen Moore? Because you can't not play Jaylen Moore after paying Jaylen Moore. And so does he become your left guard? And if that's the case, what do you do with Kingsley?
Yeah, and it would not make sense to have a $15 million per year backup left tackle.
No,
it's just not realistic. I think it. But that being said, like you said, if Simmons wins that job outright and he's the starter week 1, it's a good problem to have. We'll see how it shakes out. But so if Simmons is the guy, then yeah, I would try Jaylen Moore at left guard. I don't need to mess around with Mike Caliendo. Like I said, he is a good player for the role that he's in. And the role that he's in is the 6th man, the 7th man, the guy who will take over in case of an injury, right? But yeah. Best case scenario is absolutely Simmons, Suamataia, working out. But but then again, Jaylen Moore is there. Oh man.
Do you have like a, I guess, preference who should start day one? Because like I kind of go back and forth with how I feel about Josh Simmons. Like I think he could be a good player, but I also kind of viewed that pick as a guy that was going to be good in 2026 and not 2025. Right. And so I do think that he's a player for the future that you absolutely have to, be, optimistic about. But you did just give Jaylen Moore $15 million. Like I think he has to play tackle.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I'm with you. And my preference in my perfect world, I'm going to start Simmons on the bench because I remember what happened last year. I'm still scarred from that. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is still scarred from that. I do not want a rookie left tackle protecting the blind side of my franchise quarterback in the face of the NFL. That's just a no go for me. Now, week 4, week 5, okay, all right. If Jaylen Moore, honestly, and if Jaylen Moore is solid, let it ride. Let Simmons learn, right? Um, but okay, week 4, week 5, they want to mix in Simmons. They feel good with how he's developed, with how he's learned the offense, and he's getting good reps in practice. I'm all for it. Replacing Moore with Simmons, um, but we'll see. I'm just not confident at all starting the season with a rookie at left tackle.
I'm not either. And especially a guy that's coming off of a torn patellar tendon.
Right?
And I think 45% of the players that deal with that injury don't play football again. So it's like
Yeah.
you're already betting on that working out. And the fact that you're going to throw a rookie in at left tackle, like you said, I'm scarred from last year. I don't need to go through this again. But a name that I kind of just thought about, like, when was the last time you heard the name Wanye Morris? Like, what is he going to do this year? Like, where does he fit in this plan at all?
And he could absolutely be one of the odd men out. We'll see how many linemen the Chiefs opt to keep when they get out of training camp and get ready for the regular season. But he could be the odd man out. We've seen him at right tackle now, left tackle, and I think
You
we
saw him at
may
guard. We saw him at right guard.
right. We did see him at guard, right? I'm not
Yeah.
misremembering that. Yeah. So I think the Chiefs know what kind of player Wanya Morris is, and that's a player who's a depth piece
Yeah.
and not one of your starting five.
No. And I think the Chiefs' offensive line is on paper hopefully going to be better than it was last year. I mean,
Mm.
they better be better than it was last year. And
Yes.
like one thing that I thought about, and then we'll get out of here. The Chiefs have spent a lot of money on that offensive line, and they don't have anything to show for it. Like, they
Yeah.
don't have a left tackle solidified. They don't have a left guard anymore because you traded Joe Tooney. I
Mhm.
mean, I guess you got Creed Humphrey, and you got a franchise tag Trey Smith. And outside of
Yeah.
that, your right tackle is probably going to be gone next year. It just,
Mhm.
I mean, they've spent so much time, money, and resources, and they don't have anything to show for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the downfall of the two Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl losses were the offensive line, and the one, against the Bucks, that was an unfortunate injury to both tackles actually. And we saw how last year was. The offense was at times painful to watch. Um, and I'm not absolving Patrick Mahomes of any blame last year for the lack of I guess explosiveness that the offense just was not able. They just weren't able to stretch the field, even with speedsters like Hollywood Brown. Well, Hollywood Brown missed a big chunk of the season, but even with the speedster like Xavier Worthy, the Chiefs were just unable to just throw the ball down the field. That's good. It's already a huge talking point here, but in OTAs, just I'm not absolving Patrick Mahomes, like I said earlier, of any blame. I don't want him to turn off the tape. He certainly made some mistakes, but I think a big part of the blame is just the uneasiness that he felt. The scars we were talking about with Kingsley Sumataya on the left. He had happy feet. He was uneasy. He wasn't sure how long he could hold that ball, and we know how good he is at avoiding sacks and just extending the play, throwing on the run. Those are all tools that Patrick Mahomes has. But there's a difference between throwing on the run and running for your life. And it seems like at times last year, Patrick Mahomes was just so scared. He didn't know what to do. Not that he didn't know what to do, but he was
Kind of helpless.
anxious. Yeah, he was anxious. He was nervous. And like I said, happy feet. It really just caused the offense to just lack any efficiency. Um, and yeah, it needs to be better this year. It absolutely has to be.
When I just thought about it, he had 4 different left tackles last year. He had DJ Humphries, who
Yep.
played for a
Yep.
minute, got hurt. Joe Tooney. He had at one
Yeah.
point Kingsley for 2 games, and then he
Uh-huh.
also had Wanye Morris. So that's a
Yep.
revolving door at left tackle. And the fact that they won 15 games is honestly a miracle. But
Oh yeah.
I do think that this is going to be something that we're going to talk about all offseason long and going into training camp. How these position battles end up working out, because the Chiefs cannot put Patrick Mahomes in the same position. But Kyle, my final question for you is, where can the beautiful people find your stuff?
Hit me on Twitter or the X if you call it that. at Kyle Collier _810. And then I produce the program with Seren Petra weekdays 2 to 6 on Sports Radio 810.
Which is the best midday show in the city, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys have to listen to that. And all of Kyle's stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe for more daily Chiefs coverage. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. And as always, go Chiefs.